Outside of that accident when you were 13, have you had any other like close calls with death?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, um, go back to Coach C. Um, so like during all of that, I went to I'd bought a handgun to use when I was trail running. I thought that'd be a good way to protect myself if there was ever a bear or a predator that I came up against. And I went to get some ammunition for it one day. And I came out of the store with a box of ammo, and I had the handgun, and I was still going through everything. And I was still living at my mom's and just I was still trying to figure out everything. And I thought, like, what if I just end it all right here? I didn't really care.
Yeah.
You know? And I was sitting in my car, and I loaded the gun, and I was facing the sun, and the sun was in my eye. And as I'm like fumbling around, I put the sun visor down, just get the sun out of my eye, and I forgot that in my sun visor I had this photo of my daughter when she was 2 years old in this little cute pink Easter dress. It's like one of my favorite photos of her. And when I put the visor down and I saw the photo, it immediately snapped me out of that.
Jeez.
And I almost did it.
Really?
I think if I wouldn't have put the visor down, I would have done it.
Wow. Dude.
Because I just wanted it to end.
Man.
I was just done with everything.
Thanks for sharing that. Have you ever talked about that before? I definitely never heard that.
I don't think I have.
Dude. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's difficult, dude. Do you think about that very often?
No.
No.
Not really. I still have that photo in my visor.
Yeah.
In my truck today. It's this same photo, same visor. It's still there. So every time I flip the visor down, I see her, and so it's just, yeah.
Wow. That's tough, dude. Life is precious, man. And it can be over with so quickly.
And the thing is too, that when it comes to this, like from the outside looking in, if you've never felt this way, you think like, how selfish could you be to want to take your own life? Or like, what was this guy even thinking? But if you've never been in it, you don't know how it feels. And you shouldn't pass judgment on anybody who's been in that situation, because you don't know what they're feeling like. You're so numb to everything, and you're so, the only thing that you really want to stop is just being around, because nothing brings you joy anymore. There's no purpose. There's no podcast. There's no race. There's no social media to check on. There's nothing. Nothing makes sense anymore. And the only answer in that state of mind is to just close the book.
Yeah.
And so it isn't fair to cast judgment on somebody in that situation if you've never been in it yourself.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big mistakes that I had early on too, is I'd never believed in depression. I never believed in PTSD. Because in my caveman brain, it was like, well, you should always be in control of your thoughts. You always have a choice, but that's not really the case. Until you've gone through it yourself, you don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think one of my favorite sayings I've heard recently is, the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Meaning like, you're perception and your like baseline for what's bad is 100% unique to every single person.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, if say somebody objectively had a pretty good life and the worst thing that's ever happened to them was they got rear-ended, that could, like, if that's the worst thing that's ever happened to them, that could totally cause a meltdown. Like, that could cause
Absolutely.
PTSD.
Absolutely.
They could have issues versus, you know, you find a mentor passed away, like, objectively that is probably worse, but to each person that bad thing is so relative.
Absolutely.
And
Bob has a great lyric. Bob Marley has a great lyric in one of his songs. He says, "Who feels it knows it." And it's the same idea. What may be absolutely nothing to you and I could be the last straw for the next man. You know what I mean? And so I think there's a level of grace and understanding that I think we need to have with all people, no matter at what stage in the game that they're at. It was like running with people this morning on our shakeout run, guys who hadn't ran in how long, they were like dying on that 3-mile stretch we did. That guy you were talking to.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, I'm over here, I'm like in my own little world, happy as can be, nothing wrong, but this guy's over here dying.
Yeah.
Right? So it's that same idea.
Yeah.
And we just need to be understanding of that. Everybody's at a different level of understanding, and nobody's right or wrong. We're all just trying to figure it out together. I think that's something that we sometimes lose sight of and take for granted.
Yeah. Have you ever had any considerations of like what you felt that day of like, man, I think I'm just going to end it? Or was this that one time?
It was that one time. And it was so organic. I wasn't even thinking about it at the time until I had everything I needed to close the book in front of me. I went in there just thinking I'm just going to go get some ammunition to have this firearm on me when I'm in the mountains. And then when I had it all there, those thoughts came up and that heaviness and that darkness settled in. And that's when I was like, you know what? Now's the time. I started loading it up.
Yeah. Dude, I think suicide is one of the most tragic, like sad things that humans endure, or that some humans experience. It's like just that feeling of, I mean, it's like nihilism basically, of like there is no purpose to life. I have no purpose. And so, I mean, sometimes like I'll have thoughts of nihilism of like, what is really the point of all this? Like, but then I get snapped back. I'm like, you can impact people. There's a purpose to the world. Like, we're all here for some reason, I think. I don't know what the reason might be all the time, but there's definitely more to it. And the take of like being selfish is really tough too, because I have thought that before. I was like, because I don't know if I've ever fully had like full suicidal thoughts, but like, again, nihilist thinking. I think what snaps me out of it was like, I'm just thinking about myself and maybe not the people that it might affect. So I can kind of see it from both sides, I guess. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like everybody goes through it and experiences it so differently.
And you're not in a logical state of mind. You're in a completely emotional state of mind.
Yeah.
You know, because the person who casts judgment is looking at it through a logical way of thinking.
Right.
The person who's in it is completely emotional, you know? So that's why I don't think we should be casting judgment on folks like that, because they aren't in their logical mind at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No matter who you are, no matter how quote unquote logical of a thinker you are.
Yeah.
I think humans as a species think emotionally first.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And especially
that's so true.
Yeah. When we're in like a fight or flight type of response or fight or flight scenario like that, emotion is almost always the first thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why I love things like running the distances that you and I do, is because we get to train that logic muscle, you know, and we get to learn how to override all of those obtrusive negative thoughts. Yeah. And we learn tools to override them and to keep ourselves on track.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why I haven't had those thoughts at all. Like, my life isn't perfect even today, but like, I haven't been close to that point since. But it's because I've learned how to navigate my way through those situations better. And a lot of it, man, is through pushing myself physically, and why I think it's so important to be doing things that push yourself physically.